Hey guys, Brink here with Rooted Music Coaching. At Rooted, we exist to help you and others like you learn to play the music that you love by coaching you on the why and not just the what. So in today's video, I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about learning how to transpose songs from one key to the next very simply, okay? It's going to be really awesome. And if you've never talked about some of this stuff, it's going to be a little bit of a tutorial on the Nashville number system and then how that incorporates into specific songs. I think you're going to love it. And if you've never talked about some of this stuff, this is really going to open your mind as a beginner or even as an intermediate, or even if you consider yourself an advanced student or player. This is really going to open your mind to how you can understand music and how you can begin to transpose music, meaning move a song from one key to the next very simply and very easily. So it all starts with how we understand the keys of music, okay? And so there are many different keys, which are groups of notes in music, okay? Groups of notes that sound really good together. And each one of these keys has a rule that's associated with it, or rules, okay? And so one example that I always love to share, because it's so simple, is the key of C, okay? And so in a minute, I'm gonna show you the scale in the key of C, but before that, I wanna set it up. So every key has what's called a scale, which is a map or a layout of the key, of the group of notes, so that we know what notes to play in order to sound best, okay? So in all these different groups of notes, we have this map, this scale, which helps us to know what notes to play and which ones to not play. And so in the key I wanna share with you today, the key of C, the one rule that you have to remember is that you can't play any black notes, okay? That's the one rule you have to remember, just don't play any black notes. So all the white notes are fair game, but that doesn't really narrow it down as much as you would hope, right? There are 88 different keys on the piano, and so between white and black, there's still a lot of white notes to choose from and to know, okay, should I play these, should I play those, which ones are gonna sound the best? Okay, and so from there, we learned our scale, and the scale helps us understand 7 different notes in each section of the keyboard that we can really understand and learn in order to best play in that key, okay? So in a second, there's gonna be a video that comes up behind me, and I'm gonna walk you through the notes that are in the key of C's scale, so take a look. In this group, you only wanna play white keys. So what I'm gonna do is help you visualize this. I wanna show you what's called the C major scale. And so I'm just gonna show this to you with your right hand. You can pause the video or you can rewind it as many times as you need to make sure that you got this down, because this is a little tricky, but it's the same. This finger pattern will be the same for most every scale that we play. So you start with your thumb, your right thumb on middle C, because we'll start with our right hand. So you're gonna play C with your thumb, and then again you wanna lift up so we're not running notes together, and then D with your index finger, and then E. And once you've played E, there's gonna be a little change. You want your thumb to come underneath your middle finger and play F. And at that point, the other fingers of your hand relocate to be on their own note. So now your thumb should be on F, your index finger should be on G, and so forth. So then after F, you play G, and then A, and then B, and then C. And that is the C major scale as you've played it up. Now we're gonna show how to go backwards. So you start with your pinky on this next C. And now we're going backwards. You'll play your 4th finger on B, and then middle finger, and you play all the way down to your thumb. And once you hit there, there's another change that happens. Your middle finger crosses over your thumb to play E, and then your index finger and your thumb relocate to be on their own note, and then you play D, and then you play C. So I'm gonna show that to you one more time without talking, and so you can see it in full speed, still a slow tempo, and then you can pause it or you can try it yourself if you'd like. Great. That is the C major scale. That is the group of notes that I want us to focus on first. It's called the key of C major. Okay, so that's C major's scale, okay? So you saw that we have 7 different notes that we can play. We have C, D, E, F, G, A, and B, okay? And then the 8th note is another C. Okay, and so from there, then we derive our chords, right? And so chords are built off the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes of any scale. And so I want to take a second and show you another video of what these chords are going to look like. So take a look. So the first chord is built off the 1st note and the third note and the fifth note of the C major scale. So the first note of the C major scale was C, so you can play that note with your thumb. The third note of the C major scale was E, so you'll play that with your middle finger. The fifth note was G, and you'll play that with your pinky. So when you play those at the same time, that sounds pretty good. That's your triad. That's C major. If you were going to call that chord by its name, you would call it C major. So that's your one chord, as we're going to call it today, because your thumb is on the first note of the C major scale. Now let's move your thumb just down one note, and if you noticed where your fingers were, there was one note in between each finger when you're playing. So move that thumb on up to D and keep that same position. One note in between your thumb and middle finger, and another note in between your middle finger and pinky. So your thumb is on D, middle finger on F, pinky on A. So play those three notes at the same time. That's your 2 chord. And if you notice, I don't know if you can tell or not, this chord sounds a little bit more sad. This is called a minor chord, which again, we'll get into on our next lesson, but I want you to kind of try and hear these things so far. That's our 2 chord. Our 3 chord occurs when you just move your thumb up one more note, keep your same finger position, you're playing E, G, and B, and try and play those at the same time. Then your 4 chord is just the very next note, same position. Then you have your 5 chord, and your 6 chord, and your 7 chord. Okay, so those are the chords in the key of C, all right? Those are all the chords that are available to you, chords 1 through 7 in the key of C that help you know exactly what to play and what not to play. Now, chances are, if you've been playing for a while, you already know those chords, and those look pretty basic to you. Those chords are called root position chords, okay? They're the most basic form of how to play those chords. But chances are, even if you are advanced and you've never understood them in terms of their number in the key, this is going to be a game changer for you, and this is why I'm telling you this today. You already know how to play the C major chord in that simple root position format. You probably modify it some where you play it with inversion, or you play like a C major 7 at times, or C sus4, or something like that, where it gets even more complicated than what a beginner would understand. But when you understand these chords in terms of their number, that's when this becomes such a game changer, okay? So I want to talk to you about a simple song today. The song Who You Say I Am by Hillsong, okay? That's a really simple song to learn on piano. It's really fun to play along with the recording or with a band. But I want to talk to you about the chord progression that happens in the verse and show you how easy and simple it is to transpose a song like this, okay? So our chord progression in the verse, at the very beginning of the verse, starts on a 1 chord, okay? And then we go to a 6 chord, and then a 5, and then back to a 1. And the very beginning of the verse of Who You Say I Am sounds like this. You can take a listen.
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in, oh, his love.
Okay, so those are the chords in the song Who You Say I Am. We have a 1 chord, we have a 6 chord, and a 5 chord, and you just heard what the beginning of that verse sounds like, okay? So we could play that song in a variety of keys, right? We could play that song in the key of C using those same exact chords, okay? So this is what it would look like if we played a 1, 6, 5 progression in the key of C. Take a look at these chords. Here's our 1 chord right here. And then we have our 6 chord, which looks like that. And then we have our 5 chord, which looks like that. So we could play that song in the key of C very simply by just taking the numbers that we know from the C chords and plugging them in. Now, this would sound like it's in a whole different key because it is. We'd be playing the song in the key of C. So if you were playing with someone who needed to sing the song in the key of C as opposed to the original in F sharp or G, then you would want to employ this method. You'd want to know the numbers. You'd want to be able to easily change between these keys on the fly, just like we just talked about. Okay, so now that's how you would play it in the key of C. Let's talk about how you would play it in its original key in F sharp, or really what we'll talk about today, the key of G, okay? So what I want to do is I want to share with you G's major scale, show you the chords, and then show you how easy it can be to flip between the 2 keys, which is called transposition, okay? So I want to show you the G major scale. The G major scale is another key of music. The key of G is another key of music that has one rule. And the one rule is that we have all white notes besides 1. All Fs have to be sharped, okay? So in this scale, what we're going to show you is starting from a G all the way up to the next G, we're going to play all white notes besides 1. Every F we're going to have to sharp because that's the one rule about the key of G. So I want you to take a look at this G major scale. So with your right hand starting your thumb on G, I want you to play G as I do, and then A, and then B, and then your thumb comes underneath, just like in the C major scale pattern, your thumb comes underneath after 3 notes. You play C, then your fingers relocate, then you play D, and then E, and then your 4th finger is gonna sharp that F, because all Fs have to be sharp. That's the one rule in G major. So there's your F sharp, and then there's your G. And then going back down, we're gonna play down to our thumb, E, D, and C, and then your middle finger is gonna cross over to play B, and then A, index finger, and G on your thumb. So I'll play it one more time so you can see it in full motion. Okay, so that's the scale in the key of G. The one rule is that all Fs are sharped. So now I want to show you the chords that are in the key of G. Okay, it's going to work the same way that they worked in the key of C. We'll take the 1st, 3rd, and 5th note of the G scale, and we'll build our chords from there. But the one thing you got to remember is that all Fs are sharp. So take a look at these chords. Now I want to talk to you about the G major chords here just for a quick minute. The chords are built the same way that the C major chords were. You take the 1st and the 3rd and the 5th note of the G major scale. So the 1st note was your G, 3rd note was your B, and 5th note was your D. And you want to play those at the same time. That's your 1 chord. And if you remember, we talked about major chords being the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. And the minor chords were your 2 chord, your 3 chord, and your 6 chord. And the 7 was a diminished chord. So this chord is going to be called G major, or you can call it the 1 chord. Next, we have the 2 chord. Your thumb's on A, and your fingers are split out the same way that they were. This is your A minor chord, because your thumb's on A, and the 2 is minor. So there's A minor. It even sounds kind of sad. Here's the 3 chord. You got to pay attention to your pinky, because your pinky is on F. So you want to sharp that. You're going to play B, D, and F sharp at the same time. That's your B minor chord. Next is your 4 chord, your C major chord. You've seen that before. Your 5 chord is your D major, and again, you want to sharp your middle finger on F sharp, so you have D, F sharp, and A. That's D major. Your 6 is your E minor chord. You're playing E, G, and B. The 7th chord is the F sharp chord, and it's diminished. You start with your thumb on the F sharp, middle finger on the A, pinky on the C, and that's the 7 chord. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. We have all of our 7 different chords in the key of G. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to show you how we would then play these chords, the same progression we played in C for Who You Say I Am, play it now in the key of G. Okay, so we're going to take a 1 chord. All right, our 1 chord looks like this. All right, then we're going to play our 6 chord, which looks like this. Okay, then we'll take our 5 chord, which looks like this. Okay, and you're just playing those back to back, over and over. 1 and 6 and then 5. And again, this is the verse progression, okay? So you could sing the verse lyrics over this particular part of the chords that you're playing, alrighty? So that's how you play those chords in the key of G. All right, now let's review. Let's go back to the key of C for a second, okay? Let's take a look at these number chords that we had and put them in context of the key of C. Okay, again, so we have a 1, a 6, and a 5, okay? So that's our progression, 1, 6, and then 5. So let's look at this in terms of the key of C. Remember, our 1 chord looked like this in the key of C based on the scale that we learned. Our 6 chord then looked like this in the key of C. And then our 5 chord looked like this in the key of C, okay? Now let's flip that over to G real quick, okay? So we know our G major scale. We know our G chords. All right, here's what our 1 chord looks like in the key of G. All right, here's our 6 chord now in the key of G. And here's our 5 in the key of G. And just like that, you could have transposed this song, Who You Say I Am, that verse progression, just like that on a dime because you understood those keys of music. This is massive. And now you wouldn't probably play the chords just like that. You would probably use inversions, and that requires some further knowledge that we can certainly help you with, or maybe you already know. But that's as simple as transposition gets. That's as easy as it can be. You understand the keys of music. You understand the number system. You know the numbers, the chord numbers of the song, and then you just put them in context of the keys that you know. Okay, if this is not something that you're familiar with, then I would really highly encourage you to take a longer look at these videos today, at this video today, and really check out the C major scale, the G major scale, and then get on your own time and start learning more of the other keys. This is something that we do all the time. We help piano players and guitar players alike learn to play their favorite songs on piano, learn to actually transpose music on a dime just like that. We've had such great success doing this with our students. It's overwhelming because they can then walk into any kind of environment, be given a chord chart with the numbers, and if a singer walks in on a bad day where they're having a hard time singing and their voice is a little bit shot and they need to move the song from the key of B to the key of A, they can do it on a dime because they understand the keys of music. It's incredible. And so if you would love to be able to do the same thing, I would love for you to check out the link in our comments below. We would love to be able to coach you further and show you how we can help you out in a really extremely affordable format and really help you learn to play the music you love and get really equipped to do so. So check out the link in our comments below. Hope you really enjoyed the video today. Look forward to connecting with you soon.